Good evening, Dr. Malcolm and colleagues. Good evening, students. Thank you for joining us this for our student sensitive session. As we prepare to go into our discussions for this evening, I'm just going to ask Paul Cox to pray for us. Mr. Cox, over to you.
Hello, good evening, Mrs. Walters. Good evening to my other colleagues. Thanks for joining us, students. Let us just invite the presence of the Most High in this session. Eternal and our most righteous Father, we just want to thank you for affording us this privilege of life. Thank you that you have brought us here to discuss matters concerning our final examinations. Father, as we go through this evening's presentation and deal with matters concerning the final assessment period here at Excelsior Community College, I'm asking for your divine intervention throughout this examination period. Allow it to be free from errors and glitches, or to lessen those errors and glitches. And for our students, Father, who are anxious, I'm asking you, God, for your divine intervention and for your peace as the students go through this examination period. I'm asking you, Father, for those of our students who are not yet here with us, those who will be joining us shortly, I'm asking for your blood coverage and for your guidance, and that this session will be beneficial to all who are a part of this session. For these and other mercies I ask, in your name I'll pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. We are going to get into it. Now, COVID-19 is still a pandemic worldwide. As a result of this, there is still a need for us to have our assessment delivered in the virtual space rather than the paper-based format we are accustomed to. We had our run of online exams in semester one. That we had a few teething pains, and this semester we have been working to ensure that these are addressed as we go into a new examination period. Now, what I need you to understand is the assessment format for this semester remains the same as what in semester one. So today, we are not really going to be sharing anything new with you. We are going to be giving you some reminders. We are going to be providing you with some guidelines. But before we get into all of that, we are going to be looking at a review of some of the common issues that you grappled with in semester one. And the guidelines that we'll provide this evening will, of course, help you to overcome some of the that you face. We have members of ODEC here to assist. We also have ICT representatives who will be here to answer your questions. And there are other support units. They are part of this session, and they will play a part in addressing some of those questions that you have. In the session, I'm asking you to keep your mics muted. There's a question and answer section. And of course, we also have the chat. So if you have questions as we go along, please feel free to them. All right, so this will be the order of the presentation. We're going to be looking at what happened in semester one. We're going to look at what we have in place for semester two. And in doing so, we're looking at the examination platforms. We're going to be looking at the timetables. We're going to be sharing some of our commitments. We will also share with you important reminders, important pointers that you will need as you go into the assessment. We have the ODEC team who will demonstrate the upload of your, and they will also be providing you with pointers that will be useful for you as you complete your assessment. All right, so let's look at what happened in semester one. Our first run. And as I said, there were a number of issues that you faced while you were trying to complete your assessment. We have a list of them that we have based on the calls and the emails that during the period. One common issue related to login, forgot their passwords. And so at the time of their exam, they were not able to access the platform in a timely manner. We also had issues where students the wrong website. Students were not accessing the examination website for Moodle. And of course, as a result of that, they could do their examinations. We also had students who should have been doing their exams on Moodle going to the Canvas platform, and some of them even their final submissions there. And these CCJ students who were required to upload on Moodle. The issues were many. Students who were not registered or registered late could not access their examination. This was probably one of the major issues. This was probably the major issue that impacted students. As a matter of fact, when we got data from ICT, what it suggested is that 90% of that received from students who were not courses were tied to registration issues, because the system is set up to only give registered students access to the exams. Therefore, it is very important this time around, with just about 2 weeks before the examination period, you need to complete your registration early to avoid being denied your examinations. You cannot afford to wait until the day of the examination. You cannot afford to wait until even the day before. You have to sort out those registration in advance. And if you are in doubt about your registration, and that would mean that you would have had financial clearance from Student Finance, you may contact Student Finance just to verify that you are fully registered. There were issues with turning. Some students reported delays in getting back their Turnitin reports. And this was made even worse because persons were trying to get those reports last minute. And because of this, they could not get the feedback in the required time. As such, some of them missed the deadline for uploading their work. Another major issue, and this also was a big one, related to upload of the final assessment. We had students submitting their work to the wrong place. Students submitted work, for example, files, and of course, if your work is in your private files, then there's no way we can access them. Students were just submitting their work to Turnitin and in the work there. Students were submitting their work as a shortcut, and as a result of that, we could not access for grading. That's something that we need to be careful of. And we will demonstrate to you later how this upload should be done. In addition to that, we had many students who waited until the last minute to upload. And when we were doing things at the last minute, we also find in a situation where anything that can go wrong. And so many students found themselves in trouble. We had many emails, maybe running into over 1,000, coming into us about students who did upload their papers. They missed the submission deadline. And when we checked the system, for just about all the cases, the students were waiting until the last 5 minutes of timeline to submit the paper. Yes, Dr. Malcolm.
The student saying that the audio is going on and off, so maybe you want to turn off your video so that your maybe could be a little clearer.
Okay, I'll do that. I hope it's better now. All right. So I had a lot of students with the upload issues. Persons waited until the upload, and they ran into difficulties. Students missed the submission deadline. The data showed that 70% for the students who had these issues, 70% made their upload attempt during the last 5 minutes of time. And then we had 10% who did not complete the second part of the submission, because there are 2 stages to the submission process. Many students completed the first part, and because of that, their work was saved as draft. And then, of course, there were the disruptions in service. Some students reported having issues, even though when we checked the system, the students were actually on the platform and that they reportedly had these challenges. And instances, we had power. So that, in a nutshell, includes the issues that were reported during the period for semester 1. Now, for semester 2, as I said earlier, we are going to be following the same assessment standards. But as I go through the presentation, you will notice that there are some modifications to the duration of some of the exams. Now, the theory examination period on the 31st of May, and it runs to the 11th of June. Subsequent to that, and the tentative date that I have here is June 14th to July 11th. To that, we will have the examinations for practical, and practical courses will include those courses that are done CELBE, those students who do construction technology, automotive students, students of the tourism campus, students of performing arts. All of those practicals will take place in the theory exam period, and we're looking at 14 start day. The foreign language orals will also take place after the theory exam. We will be using the same platform for examinations. Is a platform for CCCJ programs. Only CCCJ programs are done on the Moodle platform, with the exception of for mathematics. All CCC mathematics courses, except those for engineering, will be assessed by Educasoft. For the ECC programs, we will be using Canvas. Those are the 3 examination platforms. So if you're a CCCJ student and it's not a math course that you're doing, your exams will be done Moodle. If you are enrolled in an ECC program, we're talking about the cosmetology students, we're talking about the students such as the allied health and the geriatric, the fitness management, paralegal studies, all of those are ECC programs. And a good way to tell, outside of asking your lecturer, you can actually look at the course outline that you have for the courses that you do. And if it says Excelsior Community College, then that's an ECC program. And if it says the Council of Colleges of Jamaica, then that's a CCCJ program. For the engineering program, all your courses are done on Moodle, even the math. Let us now talk about timetables. I think most of you should be familiar with this already, but I just want to remind you, just to be safe, you have to check your timetables carefully. And this is very important because yes.
Sorry, Mrs. Grant Walters, I hate to interrupt, but a lot of the students are unable to hear you, and it's coming in and out. I'm wondering if you could log out and log back in, just to see if that will improve the sound.
All right, let me give that a try.
All right. Students, just a moment so that we can ensure that you're able to hear everything.
I am trying to leave the meeting.
Mrs. Grant Walters, just make Paul host and then you can leave.
Yes, I'm actually trying to do that, but my mouse is not cooperating.
Okay. Students, can you just give us a thumbs up if you're hearing okay now, or if you're still having the patchy issue? Just give us a thumbs up if you're hearing okay, as we don't want to really delay much.
All right, is this better? I've been trying to log out, but I'm not sure what is happening with my system. Are you hearing me any more clearly now?
I
Yes,
think
miss.
some people are having issues, but I tell you what, Mrs. Grant Walters, go ahead and continue since you're having issues, and we'll provide the recording to the students. They'll have that to look back at.
Okay, sorry about that, students. All right, so I think I was at the point where I was talking about the timetables. You must check your timetables carefully because you need to be aware of the time and the duration for each of your assessments. You need to check, double check, and triple check the final timetables because you have to ensure that you have the correct information. As is customary, the timetables will be available on the website. A quick reminder of how you go about locating these. You go to the college website, ecc.edu.jm. You click current students. You'll see a drop-down arrow there. After you have done that, go to the bottom of that section where you will see exams. And you will see all the timetables for the semester come up. You just on the relevant timetable and you will have the information that you need. Please check the timetable. And as I said, you need to double check and triple check if needed. You do not want to miss your examination. It would be disappointing if after all that you did throughout the semester, this is the way it ends, with you missing your exam because you were not careful in checking the. Please do not rely on the draft. You need to ensure that you look at the final of the timetable. That is very important because sometimes the dates will change and you need to be aware of changes. So please, it is the final copy of the timetable that you should be looking at to determine your exam grades. Now, I have displayed a page of the CCCJ, and I want us to look at it because while the ECC timetables are pretty straightforward, the CCC tables have some peculiarities. I want you to be clear about what you are doing as you go into the exam period. So you're going to notice that the duration of the exams will vary. We have 3-hour papers. We have papers that are there for 4 hours. We have papers there for 4 hours, and you'll see 24 hours and 48 hours. Those are the durations that you will see on the CCCJ timetable when you look at it. Now, let me explain what obtains for each of these. 3-hour papers, while they are online, delivery is similar to the traditional form of the exam. That is, these are during that set 3-hour window as indicated on your timetable. Somebody needs to mute. For example, the library students will see shelving and arrangement of library materials for 1 to 4, and it's for 3 hours. That means that all students will complete that examination within that 3-hour period. Now, please note that even though it says hours. The paper is set for you to complete in a 2-hour period. That you need to give yourself sufficient time to complete the paper and do your upload. Within that 3-hour period, you have all of 1 hour to ensure the upload is done, because the paper is set to be completed within a 2-hour window, but we have additional time just in case you have any challenges. We have also given you that time. Will be able to complete your upload. This is also true for the papers. Those flagged as 4-hour papers are available for 4 hours. However, students have 3 hours to complete once they access it. So even though you see once you access that paper, the duration exam or the time with which you have to work with 3 hours. Once you access that, you will have 3 hours to complete the paper. But those papers flagged as 40 minutes are allocated to the multiple choice. Some papers will require multiple choice, some papers will not. You do the multiple choice during that 40-minute window, and the paper will be available for 6 hours, but you have hours to complete once you access the B. But those papers flagged as 24-hour paper, 40 minutes, you'll notice that there is a time when that be 1 to 4 or 9 to 12, you will have 40 minutes to do the MCQ. So you must complete the MCQ between the 12 period or that 1 to 4 period. If you go outside of that time, the system is going to block you, right? So you have 40 minutes, and your 40 minutes will start at the time specified on the timetable. Once you are done with the multiple choice, you will have access to the section B, and you have a 24-hour window within the paper. And for the 48-hour exams, 40 minutes are allocated to the if the paper requires that, and then you will have 48 hours to complete the entire paper. The 48 hours begin at whatever time is given on the timetable as time. Now, you will notice that I flagged the 48-hour paper, and that is because you might see some changes to these on the final timetable, because the CCCJ has advised that based on the task, based on the kind of items that will be on the exam paper, most, if not all, papers will be reduced to 24 hours, because based on their assessment, the paper will not require that length of for completion. All right, now some of you may be wondering which papers are the 3-hour papers. ECC programs will be, exams for all ECC programs will be administered within a 3-hour window. So the exam will be at a set time. That also obtains for the engineering courses, the mathematics courses, the library courses. These were the same last semester. Added to that 3-hour window will be the accounting courses. These will also be delivered during a 3-hour period. So that is one of the changes that you will notice. I think in semester 1, you had maybe 24 hours to complete those accounting exams. This semester, you will have a set time, and the paper will be done within 3 hours. So you have hours to complete those courses. Just a reminder about what the assessment format will be like for those courses which had multiple choice and a section B, or a case in section A and structured items in section B. Pre-COVID, the paper had 20 multiple choice and in section A, and 4 items in section B for students to do too. For this semester, you will still have choice items in section A, but for section B, you will have 1 case and 2 structured items. For those papers which pre-COVID had 1 case study, 4 structured items for students to do too. In this examination, as was the case last semester, you will have 1 case in section A and 3 structured items in section B. There has been no change in the format of the papers as your community college program. So our papers are the same. All right. Now, as I said last year, we had to endure several teething pains, having had exams for the first time in the virtual space. We have sought to address these going into the period for semester 2. And I want to assure you students that you have your commitment. You have that the college is keen on supporting your success. We are committed to supporting your success. The specific commitments that we are making to you for this semester is to provide you with examination tips as you move closer to the examination period. If you're not seeing the first tip today, you will certainly see it tomorrow. So we will have a tip of the day feature that we will send out to you by email. We encourage you to view these tips when they are sent, guided by them, because they are important to do items for the assessment period. Also, thanks to the ODEC team, collaboration with other units, there will also be a podcast providing need-to-know information from key areas. As we did last semester, we will have our contact center and our exam support email. And we are seeking to improve the responsiveness from these channels. Now, these are options that you have. These are the different points of contact. You'll have the online chat via our website. Once you go to the college's website, there will be an online. You can post your questions and somebody will respond to you. We'll also have our telephone support line. That is the number that you will dial into. Now, for the email support, we have 3 channels. We have our SMS admin, and this is for technical issues related to accessing your college accounts, your Moodle platforms, etc. We have student finance for issues pertaining to financial clearance, compliance with payment plans. You may contact that email address. And then we have exam support, which will cover the exam related issues, the clashes when you have multiple exams on the same day, you are having issues, or if you missed your upload, and no one will have the challenge, that kind of challenge this semester, because the college has made facilities available to help you avoid those issues. The college facilities, let me repeat it, are available to you. A lot of students had problems with internet access last semester. Persons were using their phone. You do not have to grapple with any of those issues because the college has put systems in place to assist you. And we want you to come and use the facilities that we have available, because we do not want you to experience any challenge in the exam period. All you have to do is go to our on-campus scheduler at use of the on-campus scheduler at myos.cc.edu.jm. You may go there and reserve your seat. You can use a lab, you can use one of the classrooms and get internet access. So please don't find yourself in a situation where you're trying to do your exam on a phone. That is not appropriate. Those are not ideal circumstances to do an exam. If you know that your internet service is unreliable, then find yourself out. So if you have a 3-hour exam, you can't take any chances. College and get the paper done, and then you can go back home. If you have to do the multiple choice section at a particular time, to the college and do the paper. If you want to complete the section B away from the college and come and do your upload just in case you are having issues, then you can do that. But please remember, and we highly recommend it, the college facilities once you know that you have a need. We do not want anything wrong. We do not want anything to create any challenges for you during the assessment period. Now, just some important reminders. Registration is a must. There's no going around that. You have to be registered for your exams. And you have to complete that registration before the assessment period. Because guess what? If you don't, you will not be able to access the exam. And it doesn't matter which platform you're using, whether it be Canvas, whether it be Moodle, whether it be EducaSoft, you must complete your registration. You must receive financial clearance before the examination period. Carefully check your timetable, carefully. You cannot afford to get the wrong date and time. You should also take careful note of the duration of each exam and plan accordingly. So if you need to take time off from work, start making those provisions from now. If you need to block a certain time within which to work, then you need to start putting those plans in place from now. There is not much time left. And the big one, do not plagiarize. Always give credit to the source. So just as when you're doing your coursework for your classes, when you're doing these exams, particularly those 24 and 48-hour papers, because the other papers are under exam conditions. So this, you would answer in a similar way to what you would do when you go into an exam room. So don't plagiarize, students. You have to always give credit to your source. You must. Another important point is to answer only what is asked. Sometimes there is a tendency to pad the answer with relevant information. It does not benefit you. Answer only what is asked. Look at the questions carefully, ensure that you have an understanding of what is required, and answer only what is asked. Those extended response questions, an assessment item show that you will need only about 150 to 250 words. Of course, this depends on what the question asks. But students, as a general standard, and this is specifically for those 24 to 48-hour papers, you do not require more than a 3-page limit. You do not need to exceed a 3-page limit for these papers. And as I said earlier, the 3-hour that you answer in the same way you would in an exam room. So you don't need to go and try to conduct any research. What you need to do is to study and then relay the information that you in your mind based on what you have learned from your lecturers. My advice to you though is not to be overly focused on a word limit. What is important is that you answer what is asked, so that if they ask to explain, explain. If they should ask you to list, all you need to do is ask you to define, you simply need to give a definition. Answer what is asked. Do not pad your responses with information that is irrelevant to the question you are answering. And of course, once you use someone else's idea, even if you put it in your own words, you need to give credit to the source. You need to give credit to the source. Do not collaborate with your friends. You might not be in an exam room, but you are working under those exam conditions. So if you collaborate with your friends, those will be flagged as irregularities, and some persons might think that this cannot be detected, but it is actually easily detected. And once we detect any sign of collaboration, these are going to be treated as an act of academic misconduct. So please be careful where this is concerned. And I just want to emphasize that make use of the facilities of the college. It is the safest option, especially for those of you doing the 3-hour exams and those of you papers carrying MCQs and you need to complete that section during that 4. The college facilities are available for your use. Another important reminder, do not submit files to your lecturers. These will not be accepted for grading. Your work is to be uploaded to the relevant platform. You do not submit your work to your lecturers. If you have challenges, you need to submit via a different channel. We will advise you of this, but you will need to contact us immediately if you experience any issue. Contact should not be a day or 2 or 3 days or a month later, as we experienced this time around. You need to contact with us here. If you're not able to get through on the phone lines, then send an email. Even if we do not respond right based on the flood of that we are getting, at least you will know that your was reported to exam center, and once it is there, we will have to address it. So please ensure that you use the correct channels to address or to direct your issues. Make contact immediately. Do not do last minute uploads. Ensure that you are submitting to the right place. A CCCJ student, you should not be submitting any work on Canvas. Even though you use Canvas, you might be using Canvas during the semester in some instances. Upload your work to your private files there. We will not be able to access them. Do not upload your work as a shortcut. And I can tell you these things, I can use these guidelines because guess what? These are some of the things students did in semester 1. And as we go to semester 2, we are hoping that the things that we learned in semester 1 will improve what we do in semester 2. Remember that you have to complete the submission requirement, and there are 2 tiers to this, and the audit team is going to be demonstrating the upload process, and they will also with further tips for the assessment period. All right, now I think there are some raised hands. I see one raised hand. I'll just take your question quickly, and then I will hand over to the audit team to share with us. Kayla? You'll have to unmute your mic.
Ms. Walters, I had dealt with it in the chat.
Okay, good. All right,
Miss
so
Foster. Well, there's a Miss Foster who has her hand up. Miss Foster,
Yes.
you still need assistance? Go ahead.
I was saying I have an exam. I have 2 exams on the same day at the same time. I think it's for all psychology students.
all psychology students?
Yes, social psychology and fundamentals of IT. We have it the same time and the same day.
All right, so Kayla, just send us an email, send it to that exam support email, and we will take a note of the clash and make provisions for you and other persons who are affected. examport@ecc.edu.jm. To us, and we will look at it. We really have the question and answer section at the end. So after I take Tishana and Tiffany, I'm going to ask the others just to jot down your questions so you do not forget them, and we will take them at the end of the presentation. Very quickly, if it is that you have a clash, you can either send the information to the email or you may report it to your head of school and they will get the information to us. All right, so Tishana and Tiffany.
Good evening.
Yes, Tishana.
I'm not sure if you addressed this earlier, but I wasn't hearing properly. My dynamics of leadership exam, it is saying 6 hours, but it's also saying from 1 to 4. I am not sure how to interpret that.
Oh yes, dynamics of leadership have an MCQ section.
I'm not seeing that.
All right, no, the exam, even though it says 6 hours, the paper will be available for 6 hours. So you will have to access the paper during that 6 hour period, starting at 1 o'clock. Once you access that paper, you will have 3 hours to complete it.
Okay, and for courses like accounting courses, this is my first semester doing accounting courses under this condition. Oh, do we have to do referencing to run through pricing and stuff?
No, but Shana, you know that accounting doesn't require that.
Yeah, so I'm a bit confused because
That is why. So Shana,
yeah,
that is why the accounting exams are for 3 hours.
Okay, so like the
Yes,
dynamics of
because
leadership.
they do not require any kind of research. You go in and you answer just as you would in the paper-based exam setting.
Oh, and that would be the same thing for dynamics of leadership.
Yes, only 3 hours. So you have to access the paper within that. So you have to give yourself 3 hours to complete the paper, because once you access that paper, once 3 hours have expired, you are going to be blocked from the system.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I just wanted to quickly interject off the back of that accounting question. Is it that we're expected to just like answer our question, for example, like draft up our information on an Excel spreadsheet and then upload that?
Yes, you can, and your teachers can provide you with further guidance. And what the CCCJ has indicated too is if you're more comfortable actually writing your answers and taking pictures, they will allow you to do that as well.
Miss Walters, good night. This is Tashita. All right, I see where the timetable set for IT and social psychology for the 9th on the same time.
Yes, that's
and that
your
and that would
classmate actually asked that question earlier. You have a so
yes.
You will need to report it, send the report to the exam support email. We will take a record of all students who have a clash. There are no changes for the final timetable, then we will put systems in place to ensure that you get to do both exams.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Walters.
You're welcome. We'll hand over to the ODEC team now, Dr. Budapati.
Thank you, Mrs. Walters. I did notice there were about 3 hands up before that. I didn't know if you wanted to address them before I went in, or
Okay, well, if you're fine with that, then
Party again?
it's not a problem. Can I ask Ms. Pringle to mute
I
her
lost
mute? There's a Trishana, Lionel, and then Olivia. I think we should just take them before we go into anything, just to make sure we cover everything.
All right, let's take those questions.
Yeah. Trishana, you can unmute, and then Lionel, and then Olivia.
Trishana?
All right, until Tishana is here, just a quick question, just for clarity. I don't remember if it was said. For the exams that are 3 hours, we are required to submit reference that stuff, or just do it like regular exam, just write your answers and submit.
It
If you
depends.
have, I'll take that one, Mrs. Grant Walters.
Okay,
If you have an exam that's 3 hours and you're probably going to be answering like you do in an exam situation, so you wouldn't really be referencing a lot. But in the event that you take something from your class notes, or you found something, you had time to get some information that you wanted to include, quickly just do the parenthetical or narrative inserts in so that we can see, and just put a reference at the end. We're not expecting that if you're doing a 3-hour exam that you're going to have time to be looking up and researching and putting anything in there. But suppose you use something from your class note, there's a quick way to reference that, and you quickly just do that in text as well. As what I did was I provided the PDF for referencing that shows you how to do that with class notes, so you can take a look at that. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
we hand over to Dr. Budapati.
I was going to say, I see the 2 hands up. Olivia, do you want to go ahead of, because I don't think you can. All right, go ahead.
Good evening. I was just asking, where again did you say the exam timetable can be found?
On the college website. Go to the college website, ecc.edu.jm. On current students. Go down to exams. Click on exams and select the timetable for your area.
Okay, thank you.
The final versions of the timetable are not there, but by the end of this week, you should be seeing them, if not early next week.
Okay, so as Tishana's hand is up, but she's not responding, so I'm assuming she.
It was up from before, Dr. B, so I think you can ignore.
Okay, all right, so then that's fine. All right, Ashelia, go ahead, and then that's the last question, and then we'll go to the presenter.
Good evening, all. This is pertaining to the exam I did in semester 1. I'm doing associate's degree in information technology. Associate, yes. Okay, I did the introduction to psychology in semester 1, and I went on to year 1, and I'm yet to see a grade.
Okay,
I completed the exam on Moodle, and Moodle shows that my grade is there. My teacher had said the lecturer. Sorry, the lecturer.
Have you contacted your HOD? That's probably who you want to contact first, Ashelia, and to have them do a check on that for you.
I'd contact the lecturer, and she said she had sent the grade to exam.
All right, Ashelia, that could be for various reasons. I will take your information.
Okay.
Check to see what's happening, because many times when students do not see their grades, it's because they registered late. If that is not the case, then we can do a search to see exactly what is happening.
Okay, Miss, I'll put my information in the chat.
Yes. And we have representatives of Exam Center in the chat. I'm just going to ask them what your information so that we can do a follow-up.
Okay, students, I'm going to share with you a training video that we've created for you, and it is already on the ODEC website, and I'll share the link with that as well when we finish watching, and I'll take any questions after we finished. It's just 2 minutes, so not a long time. All right, so just go ahead and watch the video and then save your questions till we're finished. All right. Play and play, not play, not playing at all. Not sure why it's not playing. 1 second. Let me refresh. Sure if I'm sharing. Having issues with our internet or with the YouTube for some reason.
Okay, Dr. B?
Yeah.
Can I just say something while we wait for you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. I just want to tell you about some of the things that we need to look at from, just a preparation perspective. I know that many of us are using phones and tablets, so we're not necessarily using the device that we're going to be using for the final exam. So one of the things I would suggest that you need to start doing is to identify the device you're going to use in the exam and familiarize yourself with it. How do you get onto Word? How do you use Word? How do you use Excel? Learn all of that stuff. Practice all the things that you would have to do. If you are, when you're doing your past paper questions, as I'm sure you've started to, don't just write them down, but work on the laptop so that you start to familiarize yourself and you're not learning something new during the exams. For those of you who are doing math courses and accounts courses, please identify the calculator that you're going to use and familiarize yourself with your calculator as well. You know that different brands function slightly differently, so you do not want to be switching brands and having a new brand right at the time that you have your exam. So definitely familiarize yourself with the devices that you will be using in the exam.
Okay, folks. I don't know why the one on the YouTube isn't working. We'll fix it when we give you the link. So I'm going to just share the video with you. Are you done, Bridget?
Yes, I am for now.
Okay, all right.
Hello everyone. In this session, we'll be looking at uploading your assignment to the Moodle LMS. First, go to the Moodle login page and enter your credentials. If you do not know your username and or your password, select forgotten your username or password and follow the instructions. Let's log in. This takes us to our dashboard, and here you're going to select the course for which you want to upload your assignment. And you're going to scroll down and go to the assignment. Click to open it. This takes you to your submission status page, which will tell you the due date and how much time you have left to make your submission. Select Add Submission. Click on the file icon. This opens your file picker. Choose File, and you're going to go to your location where your file is. We're going to upload the submission. Upload it. And we're not going to forget to upload our cover sheet. Now I have everything uploaded. I can save my changes. That takes me back to the submission status page, where I can see my two attachments, my two submissions. I can still edit if I like. So I can click Edit Submission, click on the file, I can delete it. I can also add another file simply by clicking the file icon and choosing another file. Click to save my changes. I can, of course, remove submission. If I click remove submission, those attachments, all attachments will be removed. Note that this is still a draft. To confirm my submission, I'm going to select submit assignment. Once I've done that, I will not be able to change it. I'm going to confirmation statement. So it says this submission is my own work, except where I've acknowledged the use of the works of other people, like the authorship statement, statement of integrity. And then finally, are you sure you want to submit your work for grading? Click continue. And my submission is complete.
So,
Miss, is this video on YouTube? We can go watch it, or it belongs to ECC?
sorry, didn't stop the video. Okay, so are there any questions? Now, we note that the process, we've shown you how to submit on Moodle. It may not be the exact same outlay that you see, but the submission process is the same when you go into your exam. You should see the submission link and upload and submit. One of the mistakes that we found that students were doing last semester, and this is probably because you didn't understand, but we found that a lot of students forgot to press the submit. Once they uploaded, they thought the submission was made, and students forgot to actually click the submit button after they uploaded their files and saved the changes. So that was one of the issues where students would say, but I uploaded it, it is there, but the submission, however, in the system says it wasn't submitted. All right, so that could have been, but your work was there, it's just that it wasn't submitted. All right, so we wanted to ensure that you know that you have to, after you upload and you save the changes, you must click that submit button. All right, and you have to agree to the authorship statement. Now the system is similar in Canvas as well, so if you're doing Canvas exams, you will have a similar system. Yes, the video is actually already up on YouTube. I don't know why it was giving issues, but I will give you the link shortly for that video. All right. There are some hands up. I'll start with Janelle, and then the next person after that is Nicole, and Unique, Kimani, Everton, lots of hands, Leon. All right, let's start with Janelle. Go ahead.
Good evening. Seeing as there is no 6 hours exam, it's 3 for the exams that are saying 12 hours. Is it that we get the entire 12 to do it, or it's the same 3 within a 12-hour period?
I will let Mrs. Grant Walters field that one.
If it is there for 12 hours, that would be the period that you would get to do the exam.
Okay, so the exam itself then is 12 hours.
Yes, but if it has a multiple choice, you will have to complete that part within that 40-minute period.
It doesn't have a multiple choice, but similar with the ones for 6 hours, there is a time period between it's showing a time period.
Okay. It should be available for the 12 hours. But what I can do is check with CCCJ concerning that particular one, and we will confirm with you.
Okay, and for the ones that are saying 6 hours, but they're only showing 1 to 4, the 6 hours then would mean that it's from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock that we have 3 hours in which to do it.
Yes, and for those adjustments, you will note on the final timetable when it comes, because you have a 3-hour window starting at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Good evening.
Yes, Nicole, go ahead.
My question is, what if while doing the exam, your computer hard drive fail, because this had happened to me twice during my first exam, and most of us are using a almost dead computer because we can't afford a brand new one. What should we do?
Well, in that instance, and you know that you're having computer issues, Nicole, I would highly recommend that you use the bucket system and book to come on campus and do the test, and ensure that you, do it early enough so that we can make sure that you're in the system and set you up. All right. If you're having issues like that where you've had, you have computer issues and you can't rely on it, then definitely look into the book it system. Mrs. Grant Walters explained that earlier, and book your time and the space that you need for it. All right.
Okay.
And then next person, you can go ahead and put your hands down, folks, once you're done with the question, asking your question. All right, Janila, Nicole, Unique, go ahead.
Good evening. One of the issues that I faced last exam period was that I was unable to upload a zip file to Moodle. Has that been fixed?
Because the system will take certain types of files that are allowed. So if you try to upload a zip file, it should take it, because I think, if I'm correct, Ms. Scott, you can jump in on this. It is allowed, I believe, unless any
Can you
restrictions
say why you were trying to zip it? How
Right.
how many attachments did you have?
Because the Moodle only, it is one of the computer science course where we had about 48 different files that we needed to upload. Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't taking the zip file, so we had
How
to
big
do it
was the
through
file?
WeTransfer.
How big was the file?
It had different types of, it had picture files, HTML files.
So how large was the zip file that you were uploading?
I don't remember.
Okay, so it could have been a case where maybe the file was too big and the system was only allowing a certain amount. And so maybe that's why it didn't take it. Because I'm not sure why it wouldn't.
I know that for that exam, all of us that did it had to do WeTransfer in order to submit the file.
It might have been a restrictions issue, so we can ask CJ to check it, to look into that.
Especially for any of the IT courses, if you'll have to go through that, that is something I believe we can ask Mrs. Grant Walters to put forward to CJ so that doesn't happen again. Okay,
right,
thank you, Unique. Yeah. Everton, you're next.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My question is about Turnitin and Moodle. Throughout the video short that was presented a while ago, I did not see you submitting the Turnitin first and then adding a Turnitin file to the submission. Is that still a way that we should go about it? And will this link be given to us? How do we go about going through Turnitin with our submission system?
All right, one, Everton, the video we showed you was just to show you how to submit. We didn't want to confuse the two issues. We simply wanted to show you how to submit. As to the Turnitin is working. There are no issues with Turnitin now in the system. And what we will do, and I will need, we will get some clarity from CJ on if they're requiring you to make that submission. Mr. Grant Walters, are they requiring them to make a Turnitin report submission?
That is something that they are to get back to us about.
Right. So once they let us know on that, we will immediately let you know on that if they're requiring that Turnitin report or not. All right. So as soon as we get that information, we'll certainly send it out to you. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I'm not seeing any. Oh, Michael. Sorry, Michael. I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Good evening. an email was sent out the 11th of May as it relates to, well, the topic or the heading reads final exam advisory, Turnitin training. I try to access the information in terms of trying to actually register. But one of the things I'm realizing is that the language seems to be a different language. So I couldn't really understand. So I'm unable to determine which of the links to actually click. And in terms of the email, I'm not certain which email I should use. Should it be my ECC email? Because there seems to be an email asking us to register for the training. So I'm just seeking some advice as to how exactly to proceed.
I am. You said you got the email and the language in the email was confusing. You didn't understand what it was that they were telling you in terms of. I'm sorry.
Right. It was another. It was a different. It wasn't English. Part English, but the actual instructions to click the link to actually access the training, those instructions were actually in another language.
You're talking about the Turnitin training.
Turnitin training, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're getting some information on that link. I saw that something came in about that regarding the links that they sent, because the people who do the Turnitin training, they're from the Latin American region. We get the Latin American region folks. So sometimes when they send it out, they forget that we're English speakers and they send it in the Spanish language, basically. But I will get some information out to you shortly after, hopefully by tonight or late tomorrow or early tomorrow, sorry, so that you can have it, so that you can, register. Usually though, all they're asking for is your name and your email address of the school email that you use and the name of the school. That's simply all they're usually asking for. So anything more than that, what I can do is I can kind of click on the link after we've sort of gone through this, and I will kind of go through it with you, so that for anyone who wants to
Dr.
just yeah.
Okay.
If Dr. B, if it's an email that had the link for lecturers and for instructors and for students.
That is it. Exactly. That is
right.
It.
It should just take you to a Zoom page. If you try to click, you shouldn't have to. Well, I'm not seeing where you would have had to register, but what we can do is to just clarify and send an email again to all students, because when I click on it just now, I'm seeing English. So we can just check and then send it back to all students again.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I was going to check it.
Their session is on the 26th, I think.
Right. So we have a little bit of time to, which I said, I'll check on that and we'll send out the information.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anna Kay, go ahead.
Good night. Miss, is this the final draft of
Mrs. Grant Walter Paul, is this the final draft of the exam?
The third draft of the
it's the third.
Usually, because I'm not seeing two of my courses on the timetable. That's why I'm asking.
Really? What courses are these?
It's terrorism and counterterrorism and contemporary issues or contemporary psychology, something like that. It's criminal. Two of the courses are not there.
Oh Lord, this is the first time we are getting feedback on that. All right, let me take a note of the courses.
Let me check to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. So
And I
I
think
know
it's
it's
psychology
temporary.
for law enforcement. Are you sure you checked carefully?
All right, it's terrorism and counterterrorism and fraud and financial crime investigation, actually.
Anna Kay, can you type that in directly to Mrs. Grant Walters or Mr. Cox so that they can get that info? And
All right then.
yeah, thank you. Carrie Ann, go ahead. Carrie Ann, you had your hand up. Do you have a question? Okay.
Yes, Miss. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Or good evening. I am here to say I'm not seeing small business management on the timetable, and I don't see a time set for introduction to human resource management.
And small business doesn't have an exam.
Okay then.
And for the introduction to HR,
I'm just seeing 24 hours.
All right, well, if there is no time on the final, because this is the third draft, if there's no time on the final draft, and this is something that I'll point out to CCCJ too, if it come back without a time.
Okay. Okay then, thank you.
Yes.
Two people are asking in the chat whether we will be using a different Moodle platform from the one that we normally use in the semester.
That's a definite IT question. We would. I haven't heard anything from IT suggesting that they would be changing that. I think the one that says your websites that everybody's on, I think that's the one. But again, that's some information that we will try and find out for you and get back to you on that.
The one which says Moodle Wing. It should be the same platform that we used in the.
Well, there was a change, Mrs. Grant Walters, in the first semester where they used one site for the course and one site.
I'm aware. That's why I said it should be the same one that we used in the last exam period.
Right. So it should be the same one because right now everybody's on, I believe, that one. Yeah. So it should be the same. But we can confirm that for you. Let's see. Carrie Ann already asked her question. Emilio? Emilio, you want your hand is up? Emilio Cole?
Yes, good night. I'm not sure if this is the right place to ask it, and I'm not sure if it was asked already, but in regards to Turnitin, I'm seeing the 3 times for it within the day. I'm an evening student, hence I'll be at work at that time and may not have the time to be a part of that. So
Right.
I'm wondering if that will be, there will be a session for the evening students sometime.
I've reached out, Emilio, to Turnitin to request an evening session. And what we will do is in the event that Turnitin can't do the session, we will certainly try and put together a session for the evening students. We want to make sure that you're getting the information, and they do provide the recordings also. So we will provide the recordings. All right.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gudapati.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so are there any other questions? I believe most of the ones in the chat have been answered.
Excuse me.
Hi, good evening.
Yes.
The exam, will it be the same within 24 to 48 hours?
If you check the timetable, you'll see the different times for different exams, and Mrs. Grant Walters had gone through it in the beginning, and we're going to provide this recording on YouTube for you to be able to go back over. It's at the very beginning when she spoke about the breakdown of the exams. So we'll provide.
I understand. I came on late online, so I did not get a chance to hear when she was explaining.
Right. So as I said, we're going to provide the recording so you'll be able to go through it. All right. And it's at the very beginning.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd like to take a moment and, to stress to you all that when you take these exams, folks, even when you have 48 hours and 24 hours and so forth, please look at the questions and what they're asking you. And most of the questions will usually be still broken down into sections. It may be 30 points, but it'll be broken down and 5 points for this, 10 points for this, or something like that. And please really look at what the question is asking you, and no response should really be going over a maximum of 3 pages. We had students turning in 20 pages of work. And even though we say referencing does not mean, referencing simply means that you are giving credit to where you got the information and from, and you are not trying to pass off other people's work or ideas as your own. All right. So it's important when you do these exams that you look at the questions, look at the also the point value. If it's worth 5 points, really, am I going to write more than a page on that at the most? So think about what it is. If it says list something, simply list it. It's not asking for anything else. If it says list and describe, list it, describe it, explain. Look at the words that are being asked of you to use. Discuss means, yes, you're going to do sort of a little bit more in depth. You may then use in-text referencing, your class notes or whatever, to refer to where you got the information. And so that's kind of what you're looking for. All right.
Dr.
So
Kodapati,
yes,
on
Lionel,
that
go
on
ahead.
that point that you just made about the list, and if it's 5 points, that plays a factor in persons writing an epistle, because if you tell me to list 2 factors, but you put the points for 10 points, I am scared to list 2 points. I think I must
That's
list and
what I'm saying.
explain.
Usually, and I get your point. I get your point, Lionel. I really do. And I understand, because if it says 10 points and it says list, then obviously the points mean you probably may have to do a little bit more than listing. That's why I said pay attention to the point value as well. If it says give me list 5 things and it's 5 points, then you're simply going to list it. If it says list 2 major factors and it gives you 10 points, then obviously you're going to think, you know what, I may have to put in a little bit more. I may have to give like a sentence or 2 to describe this, So think about what you're being asked, as well as the point value the point value and the breakdown of what you're being asked. And when you're writing it out, just label it properly so your lecturers are able to follow also and say, oh, this was question 1A, question 1B, and what you did. All right. So that makes it easier to do that. But, look at what is being asked so you can make sure that you're giving and you're not taking up a lot of the time. And, so you have 3 hours, or you even have 24 hours. You don't need really 24 hours for most of these exams, but you're being given that, or even 48 hours. In case it's a case study, yes, you may need a bit more time because you're being given a case study. You really have to read the case, analyze it, and give the information. But even that requires that you may reference the case or you reference your notes. It's not really asking you to do a great deal of research, but enough just information where let us know where you got that information from. All right.
So what we can recommend in Dr. Kodapati is that the persons who write the paper, let them be specific. If you want us to list. If you want us to list and detail, be more specific and help us students while we're trying to complete, that we can be clear exactly what is archived. If you tell me list and give me 10 points, I'm going to write a miracle. If you tell me list and put 2 points, I'm going to just list 2. So you don't want to put that solid that in front of us. I wouldn't throw, so just write the miracle and then, why you write so much? Because you give me 10 points. You understand? So they need to be
Can I,
more
can
clear
I
in what
tell
they're
you,
saying.
Lionel, that I know my colleagues and several of my colleagues, we teach in the school of them. And I know I've written where I've specifically told students list and describe, and it's 5 points, and or list, simply list. And they give me entire 2 pages. And this was in the days when they wrote stuff. And I'm like, why are they giving me all of this? And I just told them to list it. So sometimes it's a test situation thing where students, and this is, I've been through this, and all my colleagues have been through this, where we're taking a test and we're so busy trying to really do our best on the test that sometimes we forget what it asks us to do, and that's what happens. So this is why I always tell my students, take a few minutes to read and reread, and then kind of jot down a few notes before you actually start writing or typing out the answer. All right, because that helps you to really focus a little bit better. All right, but I agree, and the exams were written a long time ago, by the way, so don't change that now. But we do try to do this. We do try to ensure that we are specific about what we're looking for. And hopefully, this exam period will be a little easier because you've all gone through the whole process one time already.
A final point, miss. We won't get marked down if you put 10 points.
No, you won't get. I don't know any teacher who's going to mark you down for putting extra information. Maybe 1 or 2 really old-fashioned ones, but no, none of the teachers I know would do that. They'll be like, okay, you gave more than you asked for, but yeah.
No, I'm not talking about the economists. I'm talking about you have 10 points for a list question. They ask for list 2 with 10 points, and I list 2. Will I get the full 10 points?
But it's up to your teacher and what they're looking for.
Can I interject?
What them selling. Go ahead.
Can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, if the student answers the question that's asked, the student will have to be awarded the points. If the question list 2 things for 10 marks, would be a blunder on our part. And so we will have to award those marks, but we have been working to ensure that we do not have these kinds of situations on the exam paper. But the student will have to get the marks as long as the student question.
Right. All right. So hopefully that answers Lionel. Emilio, you had your hand up.
Yes, I still have another question. As it relates to face-to-face, that will not be, we're still in the online segment same way, right?
Can you repeat that for me? Sorry,
no, maybe I'm not asking.
No, I missed a little bit. There was a little noise from
No, I'm just asking if we have to come in or if we still are doing the exams online, and also if it's the same platform that we'll be using that we had the last set of exams on.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, Mrs. Grant Walters, you were answering? I thought I heard somebody answer. No, the exams are online, but as Mrs. Grant Walters noted earlier, that if you have any issues, like you don't have good internet connectivity, you don't have a good computer, as someone wasn't, or having computer issues, as someone noted earlier, then we have a system which you can use. It's a book it system. I think Mrs. Grant Walters, you had put a link to it somewhere there, and you can book a space so you can come on to campus and do your test. All right. But we have to still practice social distancing and all the safety measures of COVID. And this is why we have the book it system, because we need to be able to see how many students are going to be there and where to put them and all of this to take the test. All right.
Okay, that is part one of the question. The other part is the exam platform. Is it going to be the same as we have currently?
Right, the Moodle, yeah, same. If it's if it's triple CJ exam, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kimani.
Mister, I have a few questions. I'm sorry for the background noise, but I'll be fast. I cannot if I'm currently doing 60 subjects and I've been given a pass to do them, if I should fail them, what will become of me? What will become of me in relates to ECC?
I'm going to let
Yes.
hold on, Kimani. Mute your mic in the meanwhile.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to ask either Mrs. Grant Walters or Dr. Malcolm to respond to that one.
I couldn't hear because of the music. You'll have to repeat. What was the question?
He said he's taking, I believe, what was it? CSEC, Kimani, was it CSEC?
Yes.
CSEC courses. How many courses again, you said?
Math and English.
Math and English. And you said if you don't pass them and you're getting, did you say you were getting some assistance?
No, miss, if I don't pass them, what will become of me in relates to ECC?
Oh, okay. So if he doesn't pass them, what would become of him
He's in a triple CJ program. He's in an associate degree program and doing over math and English.
Yes, miss, exactly.
All right. So you need to what we recommend students do, even if you're doing the math and the English for CSEC, those courses called Foundation Concepts in Math and Foundation Concepts in English. Make sure that you're doing them because they're looked at as equivalent of the CSEC Math and English.
Okay, miss, and
it's in your best interest to try and pass them. But those courses, FCM, Foundation Concepts Math, Foundation Concepts English.
Okay, miss. And is this the final draft of the timetable?
No, it's the third draft. Just keep checking for the final draft. But check
And we'll,
right now and ensure you don't have any clashes. Don't wait
okay.
on the final draft to check.
Okay, miss. And last question. Does communication 2 have an exam?
Students, if you're unsure, this is not just for Kimani. This is not just for Kimani. If you are unsure if your course has an exam or not, please check your course outline, go down to the section where it says assessment, and you will see if it has an examination or not. If you look on the course outline and you are seeing an exam and it's not on the timetable, then send an email to examsupport@ecc.edu.jm and also to your head of school. Once it doesn't have it says it doesn't have an exam listed on the course outline, that means there's no examination for the course.
All right. Dr. Gulaparty, quickly, because I have to run to another class. Question. Suppose you're answering a question. You get the question, you look at it, and you write out of your head, you write in your own words. And then when you put it through, turn it in, you realize that somebody else has already written something similar. What do you do?
Okay, here's the thing. If things that you put in your own words, most times you have a unique way of saying something. And we don't store those in our institutional repository for Turnitin. So it shouldn't catch, it shouldn't catch what you have exactly. You're not going to write exactly as someone else did. You may have some phrases, some things that sound similar because most people's writing styles are very different. Now, if it is that, and this is where that gets a little tricky because if you say you did the exam and you shared information with your friend and then your friend went and wrote what you wrote or something, then yeah, it might catch something like that. It could also be an instance of, a few words that are oftentimes what Turnitin does, it catches things. That's why it's called a similarity index, is it catches things that are often written the same way by many people, all right? Certain sentences and so forth. We put into place so that it doesn't catch up to 1% or 10 words at a time that are pulled together, all right? But there will also be instances where, you know, things are repeating, so it may catch it. Now, it's usually up to the discretion of the teacher, who look at it and say, oh yeah, that's not it, you know, that's not anything, and will, you know, usually say that's okay. Note that triple CJ's Turnitin or plagiarism or similarity index that they allow is 25% or less. And really at ECC, we hope that you aim for a lot less than that. So you really shouldn't have, once you're below that percentage level, you're okay. Again, though, writing your own stuff, there really shouldn't be much that Turnitin would catch, because everyone's writing style is rather unique. Okay.
All right, let me give you an example, because in last semester's final, when I think it was HR that I was doing, but because the questions are kind of similar, so when I answer for one part, when I put it in Turnitin, it is showing me that I already did it on that part. So then I had to get in touch with my lecturer, who told me just leave it. But it was also at 12.5%. So she said that was okay and I could leave
Yeah,
it.
so that would have been okay. And what Turnitin was probably doing is, because you, as you said, the questions were similar, so you answered the same way. So you probably just said, oh, it's the same thing. Let me type the same thing over, copy and paste it. So it was saying, listen, you already,
yes, right.
yeah. So that's probably what was happening. But at 12.5, you're fine. You're okay.
All right.
You know? Yeah, ma'am.
Dr. Goodapati.
Yes.
Just to share a point here. Let us Black here, by the way, Sharon Black here.
Yeah, it's just like I recognize.
Right. For students answering questions. For example, in relation to that young man who asked about writing 2 points for the 10 marks, and Mrs. Grant Walters gave him an explanation. On the other side, I want students to be aware that if the SSAs list and explain, or identify and explain, or ask for both an explanation as well as a listing. What I find that students don't do in the first instance is that they don't list the 5 points and then seek to explain them. Right. Or when they are answering the question, they number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or A, B, C, D, E. What some students do is they will write on 2 points and they spend 7 pages writing on the 2 points. But remember, the 10 marks, it was divided 5 by 2, meaning for the 5 points, you have 2 marks each. One is probably for listing and the other one is for explaining. So it is important that if they are asked to identify 5 pointers and to explain, that they do both in order to get the maximum amount of mark, and not understand or believe that they write 7 pages and the 7 pages is about 2 of the points only, that they can score the total amount of marks. Students need to be aware of this. Second thing I want to add to the discussion is that they must be structured in their approach and write what is asked for each question. So 2A asked for X, 2B asked for Y. Identify 2A different from 2B, so that when we are marking, for the sake of the person who will mark after us, we know exactly which part of the question that student is answering, because they have identified it properly.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Black. Yeah, that's very true. That has happened in instances with, for me as well. So again, students, really, you know, just think about you know, the questions, what is being asked of you, and be very clear in how you're presenting the information. All right, and I tell my students, listen, as a lecturer, I don't want to read an epistle either, you know, because it's a lot of gradings, folks. And I will be honest here. I don't know what my colleagues will say, but I don't want to read an epistle either. I would like for you to get to the point and tell me what it is that is being asked. Sometimes, yeah, you have to go a little bit around the bush because it's you don't know how to say it in the words, so you're kind of trying to give us an example. That's fine, but do try to keep it as short as possible, but to the point. Right? and get to the meat of the matter, so to speak. I noticed there are a couple of hands up. Abigail, apologies, we kept you waiting. Go ahead.
Miss, sorry, good evening.
Yes,
Like I'm new to this associate degree, doing my first time doing an associate degree.
All right.
I'd like to ask.
Oh dear.
Someone was asking before, we get 6 hours, like as we start to get to from 1 to 6 hours to complete the exam.
So, Mrs. Grant Walters, I'm going to have you
possibly saying 6 hours. So, for example, say on the exam that 6 hours to complete. Does it definitely mean that we get from 1 hour to 6 or 6 hours to definitely complete it?
No.
Mrs. Grant Walters, can you share that slide? Can you share the slide with the hours and the 48 hours? So
yes.
All right, Dr. Godaparty, excuse me once more. For those with Mrs. Sparks Henry, he's asking that if you guys could come over because she's starting her class now. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone with class with Mrs. Sparks Henry, she's asking you to come back to class now, please. All right, so you'll notice here on the timetable that it shows you the date of the exam, and it shows you the duration of the exam, and it tells you whether it has a section A or a section B, all right? You'll notice that under section A, it tells you how much time it is, 40 minutes. And under section B, it tells you how much time you have for the section B. So for the section A, you have 40 minutes for principles of marketing, and then you have 48 hours. It starts at 9 a.m. to 12 noon. That means that's for the section A, by the way. All right, the 9 to 12 is for the section A. All right, after that, but the 48 hours starts at 9 a.m. Within that 48 hours, from 9 a.m. to 12, you must take the what do you call it, the MCQ part of it. All right. Now, suppose you had like a 6 hours. It tells you, I'm trying to see if there's a 6 hour one here, but I'm not seeing a 6 hour one. Let's just go with the 3 hours then.
Yes.
All right.
Tourism planning and policy as a 6 hour.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed it. Okay, yes, there it is. All right. So you have 40 minutes there. The 6 hours starts at 1 p.m. and you have 6 hours from when it starts at 1 p.m. All right. So if you're starting, that's 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. So it ends at 7 p.m. All right. So from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., the window is open for you where you'll have 40 minutes to do your, let me see. Actually, let me take that back a little bit. The 6 hours, yes, I was going to say, I realized my mistake, Mrs. Walters. So you have 40 minutes to take the exam between 1 to 4, all right? Between 1 to 4, you have the exam to take. And Mrs. Grant Walters, they're given 6 hours after that for the
No, the paper is available for 6 hours, but once the students access the paper, they have 3 hours to complete it.
Right. All right. So once you access, folks, all right, whether it's 24, 48, 6 hours, whatever, that is the time. Once you start, anytime from when you start, you have the 6 hours. All right. So
no, Dr. Godaparty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the paper will be available. So within our period, you can access the papers.
That's what I meant. That
once you start working on that paper, you have to complete within 3 hours. You do not have a 6 hour period to write the paper.
Right.
So sorry.
No, that's let me get this straight, Mrs. Grant Walters. So let me clarify for you, for everyone. All right. So we have an exam, tourism policy and planning and policy on Tuesday, June 1st. All right. There's a section A for 40 minutes, and then you have a section B for 6 hours. The exam starts at 1 p.m. Now that is the opening window for the exam from which you can take your MCQ. Now, remember, you have to take your MCQ before you can access the other part. So don't wait until the last minute, all right? Now, this is where Mrs. Grant Walters, I believe the clarification needs to be. Now, once they have 40 minutes between 1 to 4, the window will be open 1 to 4 for the MCQ. However, the 6 hours does start from 1 p.m. and goes till 7 p.m. Am I correct so far, Mrs. Walters?
The paper will be available for that period, but once a student starts working, so if the student starts working on the paper at 1 o'clock, the student will have to complete by 4.
Oh, I see. So they're well, okay. So folks, all right, I get where we're
It's
going.
really a 3-hour exam.
Right. Okay, I get where we're going with this. So it's a 3-hour exam, but you're given a 6-hour window in which to access and take the exam. Okay.
Miss, that's tricky for me, no, Miss. I'm an evening student, but I am doing tourism planning and policy. The shift that I have at work is from 9 to 6. So I was hoping as last semester it should have been within a 24 to 48 period where I would have time to download the paper and do it and submit online.
Okay. So what I would suggest is if you're finding that you're in some kind of conflict like that, Mrs. Grant Walters, is it a recommendation that we ask them to send or let their HODs know so the HODs can let you know?
Usually, because remember, if we were paper-based exams, students would have had to take sure that they are available for their examinations. So it's the same standard that would apply here.
Okay, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yes, and where there are extenuating circumstances, the students will need to contact us. But the expectation is that students will carve out time to do their examinations as scheduled.
Can I ask a question?
A suggestion here, Mrs. Grant Walters. Sorry, sir. A suggestion. In that case, we could ask the student to contact us and we will intervene in that we may ask the employer. We give a letter with the stamped date and ask the employer to either switch the student's shift or to reassign them to another shift.
Yes,
I agree with you. I agree with you that this is the session. The standards that has to be maintained.
Miss, but if it's not, if you don't work on a shift, you work from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
Miss Newny, I understand what it is you are saying, but remember we work in tandem with all the other community colleges, and the integrity of the exam is what is being questioned here, if we should deviate. But if you're a tourism student, I'll be in office tomorrow, you may call me. All right, and we'll discuss it further. But my concern, Mrs. Grant Walters, the exam, the multiple choice, the MCQ section that is 40 minutes. Is it one attempt or multiple attempt that the student has for this section?
One attempt, Ms. Black.
Right, I know that. So I just
Black is an exam.
Right, and I know that, but I just wanted it to be clear because in class today, a student was saying that it was otherwise. And I was saying to her, it's a one attempt only in that prescribed portion of time.
It is an examination. It is one attempt. It's not a quiz. And I just want to say to the evening students that in no institution do you find that a different exam is placed in the evening than in the day. So although you may have gotten used to having a paper being available for 24 to 48 hours, that is not the norm. Typically, you would just have a 2 or a 3-hour exam. And what evening students have to do as soon as they see the timetable is that they schedule their leave period. Once they see the academic calendar, they request leave during exam period or special days during exam period with their organizations, right? So that is the approach that you have to take as best as possible and carve out the time to do your exams. The only thing we can say is if you need the special letter and your boss is really giving you a hard time, then there can be something done from your department.
Okay. Mr. Onif, you had a question. Michael, hang on there. Mr.
Uh,
Newell had a question. Onif Newell had a question.
Oh, actually, good evening, everybody. Actually, that was where my line of questioning was
Okay.
going down because I know last semester we had our 24 hours and our 48 hours. I'm an even student as well, so I was concerned with the times given in regards to the times when we were supposed to do the exam because I don't know if it is that when we if it was a face-to-face situation, if this would have been the time, or is it that even students' times were not considered, saying that would be at work when these exams are scheduled. But I'm hearing you guys explaining it. That my issue though is that for me, I probably have a unique situation because I am actually on quarantine because I just come back from my vacation, so I don't have any time left, right? Because I had to go, I went away, and then I have 2 weeks in which I have to quarantine. So all of my time was submitted, and I had to take my time because I've been losing. I've been losing days in regards to vacation time. So I had to take my time when I did. So I don't really have time now to ask my managers for more time to do exams when exam time comes around. So I am kind of in a situation here. So I mean I don't know. As you say, you guys can give letters, but I still don't know. If that will go down well with my managers.
Okay. So, Onif, I'm going to suggest you speak with your HOD and really, because as I said, as Dr. Malcolm pointed out, this is something we do in tandem with all the community colleges. So it's not like we can change it just for our students. So all the community colleges, everybody's doing the exam at the same time. So um, touch base with your HOD and see what they can, as Ms. Black had suggested earlier, we're willing to work with you and try to get you those letters and to really bat for you in that sense. All right. So touch base with your HOD to get some assistance there. All right. And hopefully you won't have any, you know, I'm hoping your employer will be understanding.
Me too. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Marvelyn, go ahead. Miss Barnaby, Marvelyn Barnaby, go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Um, you have encouraged us to email exam support. But how is it that we're gonna know when exam support receive anything because they do not answer any emails? So I would like to know how is it that we're gonna know when they receive anything? They don't answer anything.
I will just to kind of defend the exam support a little bit. They're a very tiny team, Ms. Barnaby, and they try to respond as quickly as they can. Last semester, and probably that's why you might be referring, last semester, we had, I mean, just from the ODEC point of view, we got a lot of requests and we had to forward them to exam support because it wasn't our area. And I know that they got bombarded with quite a few um, emails. And so, it was overwhelming and they were trying to respond as quickly as they could. And one of the reasons being was that a lot of it had to do with students hadn't been registered or didn't do, certain things that they had to do and things like that. And they do try to respond. It's just that since they're such a small team I know the school put in support services to try and assist answering as many as we can, and all the different teams work. It still was a lot to try to answer because we have over 3,000 students and trying to respond to everybody as quickly and within the time period, it does get, it, I'm not going to say that there's not more we can do, but we did as fast as we could and as much as we could. And sometimes things may have gotten lost, and or because we got so many, something got pushed to the bottom. What I would suggest, and I know this may be a bit frustrating, is that perhaps if you don't get a response within 24 hours or even, of you sending something, just try and reach back out again and say, this is my second email, urgent, something like that in the subject line, so that it'll try and catch their attention. All right.
That did not work.
That didn't work either. Did you try the chat service? Was the chat service also? And remember, all right, here's the other thing I would suggest is that reach out to your HOD, not your lecturers, because your lecturers are under exam situation, but also to your HODs and see if let them know of the situation, so they can then try and reach out and get assistance for you. All right.
Okay, I have a suggestion.
We do respond to emails. I'm not saying that there might have been oversights in some instances, but we do respond to emails. So Marvelyn, I'm not sure what would have occurred in your situation, but I will do a check to see what exactly went wrong there.
Okay, I still do have a suggestion. Since you said that you have a small team and that you're unable to answer everyone at a particular time. All right. With normally with the banks, when you send them an email, they have an automated thing to say that they receive your email and that they will process your request in a certain amount of time. Is it possible that the team could do that so that we who do the email can say, all right, something was received?
And guess what? We've actually we've got a chatbot that's going to be coming up, that we put together a list of frequently asked questions from all the departments, finance, everybody who has contributed, because we recognized that there were some things that students had the same questions. So we put together something. I would have to check with ICT about when that's going to be out, but that is going to be available to help. As soon as you send in a question, it will generate a response, just like you would on like the bank sites and stuff, where you go in and you have an automated sort of response system. So that'll be coming in to let you know. And then we have a ticketing system as well as a chat system, and just so we recognize some of the things that were happening, and we put some measures in place again to help offset some of those issues. So hopefully, Marvelyn, we will do much better this semester. All right.
Okay, Miss.
All right. Michael, you had your hand up, but I see, wow, we have quite a few hands up. Go ahead. If your question has been answered, please put your hand down so that I'm not taking. There's Michael, I'll let you go ahead and ask your question, then Trinity, then Miss Black, and then Tamara.
Yes, good evening again. I spoke earlier as it relates to the Turnitin training. I'd just like to clear up a little matter. I tried it, it seems to be okay now. So I just want to clear that up. It is fine now.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay then, yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. And then Trinity. Oh, Trinity.
Yes. Good evening, Miss. Miss wanted to ask about Turnitin. Miss, for the second paper, Miss, where we write up because the
Trinity, do you have some background noise, or you have another device on? Because
I'm hearing an echo.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I think we can hear you a little better now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, Miss. Miss, I'm saying for the Turnitin, for the second paper, we download the paper, the question paper, and has the information number one. But when you're writing it up, should we just write or answers and just put number one answer, number two answer miss. Because when we turn it in, put it in Turnitin, it's plagiarized, we put the question and then the answer. It says the question is plagiarized, and if we have to put cover page and we put all the school and or that, then it starts saying plagiarized because it's the one and the question. So I'm asking if we should just write number one, answer number two, answer.
So, okay, Trinity, I get the gist of where you're going with this. And I know that a lot of students had that issue because when they put in the question, which kept getting recognized as a similarity. So my recommendation was to students is that first, you when you're finished writing your paper, simply just remove the question, submit it, and then when you get it back, put the question back at the top. All right, that way it won't be part of the similarity check. All right, but it will, or just put, like you said, just put one and the name, and that's just put question one, and that's enough. All right, not to write out the entire question.
Miss, could you kindly repeat that for me, please? Thank you.
What I said was, when you're doing the similarity check or the Turnitin check, one of the issues that came up last semester is because students were putting the entire question in, the similarity check was coming up higher because it was recognizing the question over and over because so many people were submitting. So simply remove the question and just put question one, that you're answering question one. So we know what question you're answering, and then below it, answer it. All right, that's all you have to do. Just remove, don't write out the entire question that is there, okay?
Miss, and another question is, Miss, for the exams, Miss, you have the MCQ, Miss, but sometimes they attach section B where we write it attaches to the MCQ, Miss, but they have different time. So when you need to submit the MCQ and there's the writing box for section B, Miss, and you have to write, Miss, but you have to turn in the MCQ because that time is almost up. Miss, should we try to hurry up and do both of them in the time since we'll have to submit them together even though they have different time limits? Like if section B is 24 hours, and then multiple choice is 2 hours. But it attaches, like down at the bottom you have this box where you're writing for section B, Miss. They're attached to each other. So
that is just to say, once you finish section A, which is the MCQ, you have submitted it and everything, you have access to section B below, and then you can go to section B and start section B. So you shouldn't have an issue in terms of having to hurry up and do it, especially if you have 24 hours. Okay.
Miss, okay, Miss, thank you. Miss, for 30, should we download it, Miss? Cause last year, Miss, when I had an exam, just the test, like I saw it there, submit it with it.
Hold on, Trinity. As we said earlier, Mrs. Grant Walters is going to get confirmation from CCC regarding the reports, the Turnitin reports, and what is needed, and we'll send that information out. All right. So we will advise you on that. All right.
Okay, Miss. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tamara and then Kesia, and then those are the only two questions we can take because we're out of time. Go ahead, Tamara and Onif. Those three are the last three questions. Oh wow, we had a lot more, but oh no, Michael and Onif had already asked. So Tamara and Kesia. Tamara first. Go ahead.
Miss, what I wanted to ask is that I recently started a new job and I'm basically there 2 weeks now. So I do not have any vacation period. So I would like to know if I can come in or if it is that I can be emailed a letter to provide my HR department with in order to get the time to do my exams. because especially for accounts, I'm doing that this semester right now, and that's like a 3 hour. Not saying that I can't do it at work, but I would prefer to be at home.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
and
Tamara, what just reach out to the head of department for your HOD and
yes,
request that you need a letter so that you can get time to take your exams. All right.
okay, thank you.
Right. So and I would say use that time wisely. If you don't need to take off from work for don't, but if you do, just reach out to your HOD, all right, and do it early.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kesia?
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
So I am seeing the draft of the timetable, and I'm seeing where I have Caribbean economic development as well as risk management and insurance, which are on the same day.
Are they at the same time?
Well, one is 24 hours and one is 48 hours. And that's another question that I wanted to find out, because I am seeing where you have section B, the 40 minutes where she was explaining, but this one, it doesn't show any section A or B or any time. So it just goes.
So that means it's a straight 48 hours you have to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't show a section A or B, that means it's straight 48 hours. If it shows a section B, and since you have 24 and 48 hours, that really shouldn't be an issue, because that means you just need, and one of them doesn't have a section A, so it's only the one that has section A that you have to do.
Well, none of them has section A, so I just wanted to know if that was a problem.
So then, no, that just means that is the time period you have in which to complete. So whenever you have 48 hours, so start as soon as it opens, start it on the day, and please don't wait till the 48 hour, the 24 hours. Sit down, folks, please sit down and do your exams. Give yourself, because you really don't need probably more than 3 hours to do these exams, but they're giving you the extra time. Sit down, do your exams, do what you need to do to submit. Make sure you have everything lined up for every exam that you need to submit, all the proper documents in their proper format, and then submit them. Remember, watch the video that I'll send you the link for that, on making sure you submit, save, and then submit. All right.
All right. Thanks, Miss.
You're welcome. And the last, I think Tamara, I had already asked her question. Emilio. And then that's
Dr.
the last. Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Goodapati. All right. In terms of the, how would I put it? The slowness or the speed of the system. When, let's say, when we're going through the MCQs, it takes a while to change, and takes the speed of it that cuts into the time as well. Will that be looked into?
You're saying that, so when you answer a question and then you go into the next question, the loading is taking time?
Loading, right, the loading page time, yes.
It's taking time. Is it one question at a time you're getting?
Yes, I do believe so, but I'm just saying the last time when I was trying, it takes a while for the page to turn to the other
loading,
questions.
Yeah, that's usually an internet issue, because because especially if you have a lot of people, or where you are, if you have slow speeds and so forth, loading time can take longer with pages. So
excuse me, miss, it was not an internet issue.
Janelle.
That.
All right, but honestly, Dr. Goodapati, it was not an internet issue for me, because my internet speed is normally high and quick.
Well, as I was going to say, no, it could be the internet, but I was also going to say it depends also on how many people are on the system. That could be another reason. But if it is that the loading time seems to be taking longer, I can certainly mention it to ICT and get their feedback on it. Not sure.
The reason why I'm asking it, if it is maybe an overwhelming of the system due to the amount of persons on it.
That could be, because remember, it's all the community colleges going on the system and taking it, it's not
Right.
just.
So I'd love for that to be looked into before before the final exams, because we wouldn't want that a recurrence of that issue.
Well, we had recommended that they put not one question at a time, but we had made a recommendation that they put like 5 questions per page, so that way, at least, even if there's loading time, that it wouldn't be one question at a time, but you have at least 5 questions on a page. But I will definitely check on that, and we can send an email to and note that issue so that they can maybe look into it before the exam starts.
All right, would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes. Yes.
Miss, for Canvas, I had a problem where my Canvas dates are incorrect for assignments. Like if I go on and a lecture puts up an assignment, it would say, okay, the assignment is due like a Saturday, when truly it is due on Friday. Miss, I've been having that.
No, there's a
problem since
difference.
lately.
There's a difference that students need to pay attention to on Canvas. There's a due date and there's an until date. The due date
Miss, I know.
Yeah, so it's when something is due, and then the until date. But here's the other thing, Akelia. It could be that when you go into your Canvas, you may need to go to the settings and set your time zone. This time zone, if the time zone is set differently, and it shouldn't be, because we've set it overall for everybody. You should be on the Lima time zone, which is the same as Jamaica. But maybe if that could be, but what you could do is send me an email, Ashelia, and give me a screenshot of what you're seeing, and
Yes, Miss, I have a couple screenshot wells, because I had to beg some of my lecturers to understand what I was dealing with.
Okay, well, no, send it to the ODEC. Send it to the ODEC at ECC and explain what it is, and I'll take a look at it and try and figure out what's going on for you. All right?
Okay, Miss, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. B, before you wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
Before you wrap up, there is I don't know if Mr. Shand is still with us. Mr. Shand? Mr. Shand, is he there? I'm seeing him online, but I don't know if he's actually, oh, I see him unmuted. Mr. Shand?
I'm hearing you. Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
All
Are
right.
you hearing me?
There's a question from a student who says, if he's asking about compatibility with the, for instance, different systems if he's doing a graph. Sheldon, can you unmute and just ask Mr. Shand your question, please? All right, so let me see if I can find the question and ask you, Mr. Shand. He's basically saying that he submitted a graph online for the exam, and the lecturer couldn't open it because their system was incompatible. So I was recommending that he take the picture of the whatever he did on the graph paper and submit that instead. So could you advise in terms of if they're doing something on a graph, what the best way to do it may be? He says he can't unmute.
Okay. I think I'm aware of that situation, and unfortunately, that's not it was a math course. It was another course that was brought to my attention, and I think the issue was I think the lecturer may, if I'm not mistaken, was using a Mac, and the student
he said
showed
that.
me the student showed me where the actual graph was given. This is a BSc student. The graph was actually given, and the student was able to show me the graph and the notations on the graph and etc. Everything on the graph paper. But apparently, when the lecturer opened it, the lecturer was not seeing everything. So apparently, based on what the student said to me, I am to now confirm with the lecturer how exactly the paper was marked, and to see if the student was penalized as a result of the incompatibility of her system with what it is that the student would have submitted.
All right, so you will
I don't know if
check
you follow
on
what
that.
I'm saying. It was
Yes.
brought to my attention, if I'm not mistaken, one day this week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm aware of the situation. But it's not a math course. But I'm aware of the situation.
Okay.
As a student from STEM, I'm aware of the situation.
Okay. Well, since it's one of your students, I guess you will check on that for them.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Shand.
No problem.
I guess you're wrapping up now, Dr. Goodapati, or exams, Mrs. Grant Walters.
Yes.
Students, thank you for joining us this evening. Thanks to the lecturers who are here. I just want to wish you all the best in your upcoming examinations. Remember that we are here to support you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you, students.
Please look out for those daily tips and make use of them as you go into the exam. You have questions and answers.
And we'll be sending out the links for the videos and all those other things to you.
Miss, can you paste the YouTube link in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you. And just be, if for some reason it's not working, be patient. We'll fix it. There's something not quite right with it. We'll fix it so you have it. But that's the link for the video. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. Thank you, everyone, again.
Mrs. Grant Walters, you can end the meeting.
Yes, I'm trying to do that now. I don't know what is wrong with my system.
I can look at it for you, miss. Just give me a call. My name is Everton Kelly, and we'll sort that out for you right away.
Thank you, Everton.